Marhaba, I'm Christopher Hibma, and this is Mophradat, Producing in Unproductive Times by Ettijahat-Independent Culture, a series created for artists in the Arab region that celebrates creative producers and the skills it takes to make things happen. On today's episode, we will be talking about finding the funding with philanthropist Rima Mismar. So let's say at this point you know the project you want to work on. You've identified all the steps you need to do to produce it. You know your timeline and your budget. And if it's the right fit for your project, you may have even identified a producing partner. Now comes the major question. How will you pay for it? What funding opportunities are you eligible for as an artist in the Arab region? How might you describe your project in a way that makes funders excited to support you? And what is the optimal artist-funder relationship? Stay tuned to delve into these questions today. As we mentioned in our pilot episode, funding is fairly limited for artists and culture workers everywhere. This is especially true in the Arab region, but your first step in identifying producing funds is knowing what financial resources exist. One platform I recommend is On the Move. On the Move is a site and a dynamic network that collects and shares a variety of funding opportunities for artists around the world. A majority of their opportunities are targeted for mobility-related needs, but they also publish funding opportunities for production grants and more. It's important to know what types of funding are out there. Generally, they can be categorized into national government institutions. This could be funding that comes from your local Ministry of Culture. Unfortunately, as you know, national funding can be quite limited. Transnational government institutions. These are not grant sources, but are rather institutions that focus on cultural programming within their general programming as a part of their diplomatic relations. Examples of this type of institution are the U.S. Department of State, the British Council, and the Swiss Arts Council, which all support the cultural sector of their host country as part of their mission. It's worth noting that it's a personal choice to engage with a foreign government. Take care to be fully cognizant of what engaging with this type of institution means for you. Non-governmental organizations, NGOs. This funding often comes from international charitable organizations that may have development programs specific to your country and are invested in supporting the cultural sector. Most of these are Western funded. However, there are a few newer funding bodies that are funded and operated within the Arab region and that offer grants to local artists by utilizing funding from foreign entities, which support artistic production in the region. Some of those include the Arab Fund for Arts and Culture, Ettijahat, and Mophradat, as well as groups such as the Tamasi collective. Arts organizations. Of course, you can raise or cover a significant fraction of your budget by partnering with a performing arts organization in your city, which is itself funded through one of those earlier sources and is interested in offering you access to their resources. Individual donors. Some of the easiest funding to get is from wealthy individuals in your network. This type of funding often comes with fewer strings and reporting requirements. However, it is critically important to establish these opportunities as relational rather than transactional. When cultivating new donors, make sure that you first engage them in your practice and then craft your request for financial support. Here are some general tips for fundraising with an eye toward building your creative practice. Build your portfolio. Set yourself up as an artist to be competitive in the fundraising landscape. Try to develop credits by starting small and making work that allows you to build a local network and community who can offer you support, whether it's reviewing your grant applications or serving as a reference. Do your research. Look at your peers, both in your country and abroad, and examine how they're funded. Survey your local landscape and assess who the funders are of the cultural sector, who the NGOs are, embassies or arts councils. Then research each of these and note their grant deadlines. Funders may offer webinars prior to grant deadlines where they offer further details about what they are, what they're looking for, and tips on how to draft a strong application. Document your work. Grants often request a portfolio or a sample of your previous work. Try to create a high-quality archive of every step of your creation and development process. It can be expensive, but it is a worthy investment in the long run. Assess your fit. When researching a grant, read the details carefully. Funders are usually very clear about who and what they're looking to support. Grants can be specific to an age group, demographic, or region. Look at past grant recipients and make sure you're applying for opportunities that are appropriate for you. Build strong narrative material. Funders' main critique of grant material is often that it does not offer a specific or clear enough description of the project, its development, its goals, or the proposed work. Learn to write and talk about your work with clarity and precision. Write about the project including details that demonstrate the thoroughness of the project. After you've written a draft, seek feedback from a friend who does not know your project at all. Ask them if your writing is clear and if anything is missing from the narrative. Try and try again. The most important thing to remember is that grants are hyper-competitive. Don't despair. Keep applying and ask for feedback when appropriate, and continue to build your portfolio. It's important to acknowledge that some artists craft their artistic path in a way so that they do not have to partner with funding institutions or wealthy individuals, and instead rely on methods like crowdfunding or crowdsourcing, and also sharing mutual aid and resources with other artists as a form of community building or solidarity. This approach comes with its own set of benefits and compromises. Projects may remain, for the most part, smaller in their scale, and many artists choose that path, however, because they find that they are able to stay true to their vision and serve the communities they are interested in through their work better when they're not beholden to funding partners. I last met Rima Mismar in person before the pandemic, and I was excited to reconnect over video with her recently. Rima is the executive director of the Arab Fund for Arts and Culture, which is arguably the Arab region's most prominent independent arts funding body. Rima, how would you describe what makes a really compelling application to AFAQ?
This is a very difficult question.
I know it is. I'm sorry. It's unfair.
No worries. You know, I mean, as part of our communication with the artists, with the grantees, we are often asked why we don't make available the kind of ideal application.
Right.
What is it? I mean, just to give people an example of this is what we call a good application. Mm-hmm. And I feel that, I mean, we've always refused to do that, and for the obvious reasons, but I would say it's really difficult to say what makes a good application. Some people are very much experienced in writing applications, and they could actually fill an application that is flawless, that has all of the language, the sophistication, and so on. But this does not guarantee a good project. It could be just a facade, and vice versa. Sometimes you have applications that are not very much elaborate in the kind of language that they use, be it English or Arabic, because these are the two languages that we work with. But at the end, but there's something that you feel that there's something in there that is worth. It's like a diamond in the rough almost. So I would say that a good application is one where the artist is actually proposing a project that means to them. Is an artist that is not preoccupied by the perceptions or preconceptions of what funders want. Mm-hmm. And I think that this is the main issue that we need to undo. When there are organizations that are working hard to actually not mandate, not being non-directive, and the kind of support that we give, we still receive these kind of applications where you feel that the artists are assuming certain questions that we want them to answer to. And this could be related. I mean, you know, it's like the kind of applications where you feel that there are boxes that are being ticked, although they're not asked to do that. So I would really say that for artists to just delve into their own worlds of why they want to do this project, to try and convey the kind of passion that they have for their work. And to really, it's not a question of writing impeccable English or not. Some others can help in the writing process, but if they do have the passion to do this project, if they are asking the right questions and how this connects to them and why they are the ones that are most that could be most interesting to actually deal with these topics, I would say that this would definitely constitute an interesting application. And then it becomes the sensitivities of the jury members and how those sensitivities meet and combine that actually dictates what the decision is. I'm always against saying that this application was rejected because we do support 10 to 15%. It cannot be that 85% of the applications do not deserve support, but these are our resources, and for each jury, juries are subjective. This is not something that we should conceal or be embarrassed of. Jurors has to be credible, they have to be generous, they have to be impartial, of course, but at the end of the day, when they connect with projects, this is coming from their own taste, their own sensitivity, their own experience. And so the combination of all of this leads to a certain selection, which within the hands of another jury would actually lead to another selection. So it's not a question of good and bad all the time. It's a question of how much the artist is able to convey what they want to say, to convey it also at the level of feelings, and really not to assume that there is a certain mind out there that is expecting certain answers to questions that are not being asked.
I hope you click on the link below to catch my extended river conversation with Rima, where we speak about the variety of funding opportunities for Arab artists, how to access them, and how to write compelling grants. Budgeting, fundraising, and grant writing can all be intimidating. But I hope that our time together today and my conversation with Rima makes funding your next project feel a little more focused. Next time, in our final episode, we will learn how to protect your work as well as what makes a strong legal agreement between your collaborators. See you next time. Ma as-salama.